Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into something really vital for, well, for every homeowner. Reliable, safe electrical service.
Hmm.
And instead of you having to sift through, tons of reviews and technical jargon, we've done a bit of that work. We've got this stack of info on AT Electric LLC, a local DFW contractor.
Right.
And we're using their setup, their model, really, as a sort of case study to pull out the key things, the generalized knowledge you really need about modern electrical work.
Exactly. That's the plan. This deep dive, it isn't just, a plug for one company. It's about understanding what's required for electrical integrity in today's homes.
Okay.
When we synthesize their services, their mission statement, what emerges is a clear pattern. It's a move away from just reactive fixes,
Like calling when a light goes out.
precisely, and more towards proactive planning. Thinking about the infrastructure before there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this company, AT Electric, they're family-owned, based in Mansfield, Texas.
Right, man.
Been operating since 2019, but they're built on what they state is over 25 years of industry experience serving the whole DFW area.
Okay, that phrase, 25 years of experience, that definitely caught my eye. It sounds great, obviously. But for you, the listener, trying to figure out who to trust, how do these sources really show that they validate that experience? Like, what separates real expertise from just a good marketing line? Are there specific things, maybe certifications, homeowners should look for?
That's a really good question. What the sources seem to emphasize isn't just the claim of experience, but the outcome.
Okay.
They talk about delivering top-notch service, focusing on safety, efficiency, good workmanship. And if you look at the kinds of services they offer,
Uh,
things like complex underground wiring jobs, installing EV chargers,
yeah.
these aren't basic tasks. They require really master electrician level skills. You have to know the codes, which change, and understand how to handle much higher electrical loads safely.
Yep.
So in a way, the proof is in the complexity of the solutions they offer. It goes way beyond just changing an outlet.
Right, that makes sense. The type of work itself speaks to the level of skill. Okay, so let's quickly map out their footprint, their focus, before we dive deeper into the technical side.
Sure.
Family owned and operated. They seem to believe that model leads to more accountability, more maybe personalized service.
That's the implication, yeah. Being
Okay.
directly involved.
They operate out of Mansfield, TX, as you said, but cover a really wide area, DFW Metroplex, Arlington, Fort Worth, Grand Prairie, places like that, within about a 20-mile radius of Mansfield.
It's a significant service area.
Yeah. And we'll put their exact address and contact, info, phone, email in the show notes for anyone interested, just to save us a bit of time here.
Good idea.
Right.
So the main takeaway from this first part really is their emphasis on reach and consistency.
Okay.
Their stated goal is restoring power quickly and safely. And the fact they even offer Saturday hours, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., on top of the standard Monday to Friday.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it suggests they understand electrical problems don't stick to a neat 9 to 5 schedule. That flexibility, that's a key part of their value proposition, it seems.
Definitely. Okay, now let's get into the really critical stuff. The safety infrastructure. This is where that safety first idea they talk about becomes tangible, like actual protection against real home risks.
Absolutely. When you look at modern electrical service, fundamentally it's about managing risk, mitigation.
Right.
And the two big preventative services that jump out from the sources are electrical panel upgrades and whole home surge protection.
Yeah.
Think of these as your first lines of defense against major failures.
Let's start with the panel then, the breaker box. I think a lot of people, myself included sometimes, figure if the lights work, the box is fine.
Common assumption.
So why are panel upgrades so important now? What are the signs, the practical symptoms maybe, that your system is overloaded or just too old and needs an upgrade?
Well, the need is really driven by how much electricity we use now compared to, say, 20 or 30 years ago. Think about it. Smart home devices everywhere. Multiple phones and tablets charging, big screen TVs, high-efficiency HVAC systems,
Right.
maybe an electric car charger.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
It really does. And many older homes might still have 100-amp service panels.
Mm-hmm.
Some even have older, potentially risky setups like aluminum wiring. These just weren't designed for sustained, heavy modern usage.
So what happens? What do you look out for?
The key symptoms the sources mention are things like breakers tripping all the time, not just once in a while, but frequently. Or lights flickering constantly, especially when a large appliance kicks on. Or, more worryingly, a faint burning smell near the breaker box itself.
Okay, that last one sounds serious.
It is. So upgrading, typically to a 200 amp service, using modern panels with better fire-resistant components, it allows the system to handle that heavier load safely. It ensures stability, and crucially, it drastically cuts the risk of electrical fires caused by overloading and overheating circuits.
So it's really less about convenience, like stopping annoying trips, and much more about fundamental safety and just reliable power delivery.
Exactly. Life safety, system longevity.
Okay. So if the panel is the foundation, you mentioned whole home surge protection as a defensive layer. What really struck me here is how different this sounds from those cheap power strips people plug their computers into.
Oh, it's a completely different beast.
Yeah.
Night and day, really. And honestly, it's becoming almost an economic necessity, especially in places like DFW that get severe thunderstorms and lightning.
Right.
Those little plug-in strips, they might handle small, localized power fluctuations. A whole home surge protector, though, it's installed right at the main breaker panel.
Physically at the box.
Yes, and it's designed to deal with transient surges, those sudden massive spikes in voltage. Think lightning strikes nearby, or even big switches from the power grid itself.
Okay, and what do those surges do?
Well, they can silently destroy the sensitive electronics inside almost everything these days. Your furnace control board, your refrigerator's computer, your smart TV, your washing machine.
Ouch. Expensive stuff.
Very expensive. And often you don't even realize it was a surge until the appliance just dies prematurely. So installing this whole home barrier essentially protects everything hardwired into your house. It's less of a luxury add-on and more like, well, essential insurance against potentially thousands of dollars in damage.
That makes a lot of sense. It's proactive protection for everything at once. Okay, before we move on from core safety, let's quickly touch on something else they emphasize. Circuit repair, and specifically GFCI outlets. Why is that acronym, GFCI, so important for homeowners to know?
Right, GFCI, it stands for Ground Fault Circuit Interrupter. And these aren't just, slightly different looking outlets. They're incredibly fast-acting safety devices.
How do they work?
They constantly monitor the flow of electricity out and back. If they detect even a tiny imbalance like minuscule whiskle wedge, which could happen if electricity finds an unintended path.
Like through water, or worse, a person.
Exactly. If it detects that kind of ground fault, it trips, cutting the power almost instantly. Much faster than a standard circuit breaker might react to that specific situation.
Oh, okay.
So the sources highlight them as absolutely critical for preventing electric shock hazards, especially in potentially wet areas. Think bathrooms, kitchens, laundry rooms, garages, outdoor outlets.
Thing where water might be present.
Precisely. They provide that immediate life-saving protection right where it's needed most. Stable power, but with that added safety layer.
Okay, good to know. Let's shift gears a bit now. We've covered the foundational safety stuff. Let's explore how this kind of electrical expertise also caters to comfort, aesthetics, and adopting new technologies.
Yeah, this is where you see that blend of technical know-how and, well, making things look good and work well for modern living.
Right.
Take something like installing a chandelier or a ceiling fan. It might sound like a simple weekend DIY project for some.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about tackling one myself.
But the sources point out that many modern fixtures, especially those big, heavy statement chandeliers or fans installed in, say, a two-story foyer.
Oh, yeah, those high ceilings.
Exactly. They're heavy. They need really secure mounting, often requiring reinforcement above the ceiling that goes beyond what a standard plastic junction box can handle. And you need to calculate the load properly.
Right. I can see how a fixture falling would be bad. Very bad. Not just the fixture breaking, but the damage it could cause, or worse.
Absolutely. So it's clear that having a licensed professional handle it ensures not just that the wiring is correct and safe, but that the physical mounting is secure enough to hold the weight long term.
Makes sense. Precision matters there.
And that focus on precision carries over into their other lighting solutions too. They seem to handle comprehensive indoor and outdoor lighting setups.
Which does more than just look nice, right? Outdoor lighting is key for security.
Definitely. Good visibility enhances curb appeal, sure, but it also makes walkways safer. And they specifically mentioned installing motion sensor lights, which are a great deterrent against intruders.
Yeah, that sudden light can be startling. And they talk a lot about LED technology. Why is that such a big focus in modern electrical work?
Well, several reasons. First, LEDs are just inherently safer from a fire risk perspective. They run much, much cooler than old incandescent bulbs.
Oh, right. Those old bulbs could get really hot.
Exactly. So less heat means less risk, especially in enclosed fixtures or over long periods.
Yeah.
But beyond safety, the efficiency is just huge.
Okay.
The sources say LEDs can last up to 25 times longer than traditional bulbs. Think about that, less time on ladders changing bulbs, especially in hard-to-reach places.
Yeah, definitely a plus.
And they use significantly less energy. That translates directly into lower utility bills over time. So it's an investment that pays back in energy savings, longevity, and safety. Win-win-win.
Okay. Now, let's step outside the house walls for a minute and look at infrastructure planning again. Specifically, underground electrical work. This seems like something you don't think about until you suddenly need it. What does it actually involve, and why is it critical to have professionals do it?
Right. Underground wiring is definitely more complex than surface wiring. It usually involves trenching, burying electrical lines, and protective conduit.
And why would you do that?
Typically, to get power safely to somewhere away from the main house, like a detached garage, a workshop, a shed, a pool equipment, an RV hookup spot, or even just installing convenient outlets out in the yard or on a patio.
Got it. So it keeps wires hidden and safe.
Exactly. Out of sight, protected from the elements and physical damage, and eliminates tripping hazards. But it's complex because you're dealing with digging, potentially hitting other utilities, and strict electrical codes about burial depth, the type of wire and conduit needed for direct burial, and proper connections and grounding.
So definitely not a DIY job for most people.
Absolutely not. It requires permits, knowledge of local codes, and the right equipment to do it safely and correctly. Professional oversight is mandatory, really.
Okay. And finally, under the specialized services banner, we see them addressing a really current demand. EV charger installation. Electric vehicles are becoming more common, even here in DFW. What makes installing a home charger a specialized task? Isn't it just like installing a big outlet?
Well, yes and no. It is installing a high-power outlet, but the challenge lies in the high-power part and the regulations around it.
Okay.
Most home EV chargers, the level 2 chargers people want for faster charging, they require a dedicated circuit. And usually a pretty hefty one, often 240 volts and drawing 40 or 50 amps, sometimes more.
Whoa, that sounds like a lot compared to a regular outlet.
It is. It's a significant electrical load. So the first challenge is doing a careful load calculation on the entire house. Can the existing electrical panel, that 100 amp or 200 amp panel we talked about earlier, actually handle this big new continuous demand on top of everything else the house uses?
So you might need a panel upgrade just to add the charger.
Sometimes, yes, or at least ensure there's enough capacity and a spare breaker slot rated correctly. Then the installation itself has to be done strictly according to code, using the right gauge wire for the amperage and distance, proper grounding, and often requires pulling a specific permit. Plus, ensuring the charger installed is compatible with the client's vehicle.
Got it. So it really does require that expert knowledge of capacity, codes, and safety. It's not just plugging something in.
Not at all. It's a major electrical addition. Doing it wrong could overload your system, create fire hazard, or damage the car or the charger. That's why professional installation is key.
Okay, that covers the technical skills nicely. So if the expertise is there, how does that family-owned aspect we mentioned earlier translate into, actual customer trust and satisfaction? We've got some interesting testimonials here that seem to support that idea.
Yeah, the connection seems to be centered around transparency and maybe a more personal approach. The sources emphasize things like offering free estimates or quotes up front.
No surprises on the bill.
Exactly. Clear pricing.
Yeah.
And this idea of treating customers like neighbors, providing tailored solutions rather than just a one-size-fits-all approach, it aims to reduce that uncertainty people often feel when hiring contractors.
Right. And the anecdotes really bring that to life. I was particularly struck by one from Michael Kim. He praised them for replacing a faulty circuit breaker switch the very same day he called.
That's prompt service.
But here's the kicker. The owner, Al, apparently came out personally on a second visit just to follow up on a different, unrelated issue.
Wow.
That level of direct owner involvement and follow-up, especially in a busy market like DFW, that seems pretty remarkable. It suggests that family-owned model really does mean high-touch service in their case.
It absolutely speaks to accountability. And then look at Susanna Williams' story. It touches on affordability.
Yeah. What happened there?
She mentioned getting multiple quotes for some backyard electrical work that she felt were way overpriced. But she said Al and his team came in, gave her a solution she felt was affordable, and got the job done really fast within just a couple of hours. She specifically highlighted his diligence in making it both affordable and quick. It shows that personalized service doesn't always have to mean paying a premium.
That's a great point. And there was another one, Danny Rowe. He praised Elle directly for being friendly, professional, knowledgeable, said he went out of his way.
Hmm.
And he also gave a shout out to another technician, Alberto, for doing great repair work on an urgent issue and providing a fair bill. These kinds of detailed, positive stories mentioning specific people and actions, they really seem to illustrate that blend of technical skill and a strong focus on customer relationships.
Definitely. And if we tie all this back to their home base, Mansfield,
Hmm.
kind of fits, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, Mansfield, south of Arlington, it's described as this fast-growing, really vibrant city.
Mhm.
Very family-oriented, known for good schools, lots of parks, over 900 acres of parkland, apparently.
Mhm.
It has a strong community feel. So a company focusing on long-term home safety, preventative measures like panel upgrades and surge protection, especially important given Texas weather.
Right. Storms and surges.
It seems like a natural fit for a community that's growing and focused on family well-being. Their service focus aligns well with the needs of that kind of developing family-centric area.
That makes a lot of sense, connecting the service ethos to the community context. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the core takeaways for you, the listener, from this deep dive? Well, we've seen a clear model here, using AT Electric as an example, of a contractor that really emphasizes long-term safety through proactive upgrades, think panels, surge protection.
Right, the foundational stuff.
Exactly, while also being able to adapt and handle modern demands, whether that's energy efficiency with LEDs or installing the infrastructure for new tech like electric vehicles.
And I think we pull back to the bigger picture. What these sources collectively suggest is that reliable, quality electrical service today is becoming less about just fixing things when they break.
The reactive approach.
Yeah, and much more about proactive hazard prevention and planning for future capacity needs. Understanding that shift, I think, is probably the most valuable insight here for any homeowner.
That shift in thinking is key. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Considering this need for safe, modern electrical systems that have to support energy efficiency like LEDs, and new power demands like EV chargers, what overlooked part of your own home's electrical system? Maybe something hidden like that old breaker box humming in the basement, or maybe some aging underground wiring feeding your pool pump. What component might be quietly holding back your home's safety, or even limiting your options for future upgrades or growth? Something to perhaps investigate the next time you're thinking about home maintenance or considering a new project.